Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Steven Santana writing from My San Antonio. It looks like George Lopez Tacos is now delivering badass tacos to the folks in San Antonio. Let's just say they could be bad-asser. The online-only restaurant backed by the comedian and actor popped up on my DoorDash app today. George Lopez Tacos offers 3 taco plates like the La Chingona, which comes with 3 tacos and corn tortillas with your choice of slow-roasted meats like chicken, beef, or pork carnitas, or you can opt for the La Mas Cabrona taco plate with your choice of protein and more toppings like roasted peppers and a fire-roasted jalapeno. That sounds pretty good, George Lopez. Each plate comes with your choice of sauces like avocado crema, salsa roja, and salsa verde. Steven Santana says, I got the La Mas Cabrona. Oh, cool. Let's see how it was. I'm looking forward to this. With slow-roasted pork carnitas, roasted peppers and onions, guacamole, salsa verde, chips, and churro bites, all for around $40? I wasn't sure what to expect, but I didn't expect the ingredients to be packaged separately. I had to do a little. That's fine. I made myself 2 taquitos with salsa, roasted peppers, cilantro, onion, and a squeeze of lime. That might sound harsh, but the carnitas needed the salsa and lime because the meat was a little dry, a little jarring when you hear slow roasted. But the carnitas were tasty, as was the salsa verde, but I could see people thinking the salsa's too tangy. I like that. I also had the fire-roasted jalapeno for the extra picoso. The tacos are passable. If you're looking for street tacos that present a semblance of authenticity, George Lopez Tacos are fine. I'll stick to Taquitos West Avenue. If I'm ever in San Antonio, Steven Santana, I'm heading over to West Avenue. Steven adds, one bright side, I feel this dish is hard to mess up, but the churro bites with chocolate sauce were very good. Cooked all the way through, no raw batter in the middle, and dusted with chingos of cinnamon sugar. They were good, but it's not called George Lopez Churros. George Lopez Tacos also offers family-style meal options that come with corn tortillas, protein, and toppings that can feed up to 8 people. It's not clear where George Lopez Tacos cooks, but Grubhub puts the restaurant at an office center on 7824 Mainland Drive. From the La Cruces Sun News, they asked the question, why did promoters sandwich a stand-up comedian between 2 rock groups at a 1979 show at the Pan American Center? Good question. It's one that keeps me up night. And La Cruces Sun News says, we may never know the answer, but the odd choice was likely the reason Bob Saget, then 22 years old without much name recognition, was purportedly booed off stage in his first and seemingly only visit to New Mexico State University. Oh no. The few thousand fans who attended the March 21st, 1979 concert, headlined by hard rock band Head East at the Pan American Center, were welcomed by opener Richie Lachea, a guitarist with a groovy rock sound. Saget took the stage next, and his show was so poorly received, the comedian allegedly told the crowd he was going to go on late-night TV and bash Las Cruces. Then the comedian wrote a letter to the editor of the Roundup, the NMSU student newspaper, apologizing somewhat for what he had told the crowd that night. The letter, published March 26, 1979, begins, I'd like to go on the record for saying that I actually do like your school, even though I wasn't exactly welcome with open arms. It's a shame that 1,900 students had to ruin it for the other 100. Saget goes on to thank his fans and then promises, I will not slander your school or town on The Tonight Show this summer. I wish to sincerely thank those of you who tried to hear my act and enjoyed it. He then offers free water for anyone who visits him at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. Michael Moore graduated from the college in 1982. He commented on the show. He said, I was a sophomore student during that time frame, and I did attend this concert. I recall there was an opening act for Head East, a stand-up comedian. I didn't recall his name at the time, but now realize it was Bob Saget. What I do recall was that the crowd was hostile to his appearance and performance. I remember the people I went with were not in the mood for comedian. They wanted to see music, so when Bob took the stage, the reaction was virtually immediate. Every diatribe/joke Bob would work through was rebuffed by the audience. I'm not sure why, as some of his material was actually funny. He worked hard that night to try to sway the audience. I recall feeling bad about how the crowd treated him on stage. I thought, what a tough way to make a living. Tammy Zierden was there as well. I was a freshman at NMSU and attended the Head East concert the night Bob Saget performed. I was pretty far up in the seating. Remember, it was just half the floor because not many tickets were sold. After the concert, we were talking and thought they should have had Bob Saget at the beginning to warm up the first band. Yeah, because whoever it was, they came out and really warmed us up. for Head East. Then Bob Saget came out, and not many students had heard of him yet. They were there for music. I thought it was very funny, from what I could hear over the drunk/high rude folks, but his placement in the lineup was very questionable in my opinion. That's a good time. Now from El Paso Inc., Ricky Gervais only cares about getting laughs with his comedy. Ricky said, you hone the jokes to make them bulletproof. It's not like I go out there and say, I'm going to say the first thing comes in my head. I don't care what people think. I do care, but shouldn't worry about what people think of the politics of the joke. I'll pretend to be right-wing, left-wing, clever, stupid. I just want everyone to laugh at the joke, whatever their politics, whatever their real beliefs. I want to be more honest. That's all I care about. It gives me an adrenaline rush, I think. Can I say that? Of course. I've got to say that right. And that's the buzz for me. All I want to do is get my point of view across. Be honest, make people think about stuff. It's never been about viewing figures, awards, or money. It's always, I can get this off my chest. I could say this. Can I do this? And I love creating characters and their worlds. It's the closest thing to being God. Chris Gethard has a new ebook. It's called Dad on Pills. He's giving his voice to parenting anxieties, writes Yahoo, and in doing so is part of an increasingly vocal chorus calling for a fundamental attitudinal change in our society. Gethard said, there's right now a pretty wholesale rejection of the idea that people need to be tough, men need to be tough, kids need to be tough. I think a lot of that is going by the wayside, or at least we're kind of re-examining what toughness means and entails and what purpose it should serve. I don't think people want to drink their problems away anymore, and I don't think people want to work themselves to death for the purpose of finding pride. It's a really cool thing, but you also sit here and you go, geez, there's no guidebook to raising a child, and I'm a pretty mixed up person. I think we're raised in a culture of fear. Being a parent, it's really daunting. It's really intimidating. You spend a lot of time worried that you're going to pass on your issues to your kid. And I think every parent probably sits there and thinks about that and goes, I hope that my kid picks up my best habits and my best tendencies and manages not to pick up the worst. For me, that's a really, really scary thought because the worst I have to offer is stuff that's been so brutal. Collider caught up with Ed Helms and Randall Park. They are working on the hybrid scripted, unscripted original comedy series True Story with Ed and Randall. Are you guys doing any retakes? Park says, no, never. Ed Helms, who almost single-handedly killed The Office, says, no, they tell the story once, we're listening to the story, and always digging for more clarity throughout the process. What you wind up seeing is actually a very condensed, cut-down version, because we go on a lot of tangents. Collider said, hey, Ed, I loved your recent series, Rutherford Falls. Ed said, thank you. I'm so proud to be part of Rutherford Falls. I've been really overwhelmed by the response to the show. We just set out to make something that was really, really funny and honest about some tricky issues. We had a ton of fun doing it. We're actually shooting season 2 right now. I came from set to be here. It's bonkers. All I can say is go binge season 1, because you're going to want to be all caught up to jump into season 2. It's going to be a blast. EW caught up with the guys from Letterkenney, which is a good show. You'll find that on Hulu. Jacob Tierney, who developed the show and co-writes most episodes, said, the show's grown at its own pace, which is really nice. We never felt like we were under a microscope. We began as a pretty little show with nobody paying a lot of attention to us. Yeah, I only heard about it a year ago? Luckily, we still kind of live that way. We're left alone to do our own thing. EW writes, That Thing is a show that centers on the small town of Letterkenney, populated by a mixture of Hicks farmers, skids who are goth drug addicts, hockey players, and other eccentric denizens. Characterized by rapid wordplay-filled dialogue, extensive comedic riffs, and running gags. 10 seasons deep with an 11th on the way. A typical episode summary from season 10 is, the Hicks recruit help for picking up stones. Trevor Wilson's on that show. I like him a lot. And Molly Shannon will help celebrate our nation's libraries as the honorary chair of National Library Week. You know when that is, April 3rd to the 9th, always is. Molly Shannon will highlight the numerous ways libraries serve to connect communities to books, resources, programs, and of course each other. Molly Shannon said, I am so honored to serve as honorary chair of National Library Week for 2022. My mom was a librarian. She encouraged kids to read, so the work of librarians and libraries has such a special place in my heart. She had more to say. Libraries are places where communities connect to things like broadband, computers, programs, and classes, books. Yeah, books is a big part of libraries. Movies, video games, and more. But most importantly, libraries connect us to each other. That's your comedy news for today. Grab some George Lopez Tacos, and I'll meet you back here tomorrow. Follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, wherever you get your shows. See you then.